How many of you ever been scraped or cut and bled bad? Yeah, everybody has a blood story. And what happened to the blood? Who can tell me what happened to the blood after maybe 15, 20 minutes? What happened to it?
Comes out and dries.
It dries. Okay, and what is that drying process called? Does anybody have an idea? When blood thickens? Healing. It's a healing process. There's a word, it's called clotting. You ever heard of blood clotting? And it kind of, what clotting is it basically is the blood will coagulate or come together and pool, and as it dries, it hardens, and it forms a scab. And the scab is actually a protective agent. Yeah.
Is that what they say? You have like a blood clot?
Okay, that's a different. Yeah, very good. It does do that same thing where it kind of combines and builds up into the bloodstream, but that's more internal, where a blood clot that forms a scab on the outside is external. Same system, but as the blood clots on the outside, it's for a healing purpose. As blood clots on the inside, in your veins or in your arteries, what happens is the blood cells actually get into a hypotonic state. And the hypotonic state means they expand and they get bigger. And what happens if they get all bunched together, they clot, and then now your blood can't flow through, and ultimately you have strokes, heart attacks, and things like that. So blood clots on the inside are not very good. Blood clots on the outside help heal things. Albert?
What about if you have one and if it's maybe infected?
Yeah, that's not a good thing. Now you're talking about the white blood cells, which are the protectors. The white blood cells are the cells in the body that help heal the system. And if it is get infected, you're going to need the antibiotics to get the blood back in the proper. You're going to have antibiotics or antibodies in your system, but the endocrine system, which is the lymph node system that helps heal and protect your body, will also kick in as an automatic system to help the blood recirculate and get back to its healthy state. So it is a combined system. And when I talk about systems of the body, the systems of the body, everything's kind of works in combination here. One of the things that you'll note as part of the process of healing is that the heart is next to the lungs. And the lungs, what are the lungs? What's the process of the lungs? Breathe in, breathe out. When we breathe in, what do we breathe in when we take a breath? Oxygen. Yeah, what do we breathe out? What do we breathe out? Carbon dioxide, yeah. So that happens. You can't fool Mother Nature. So as fast as you could possibly breathe in, you're going to breathe in oxygen. You're always going to breathe out CO2 or carbon dioxide. And what happens is that your lungs take in the oxygen, and then the heart has a flow that flows to what they call the alveola. The alveola are little air packs in your lungs that hold the oxygen, and then as the blood flows through, the blood takes the oxygen, the red blood cells take the oxygen, and then they distribute it out through the body. Once it's distributed out through the body, you'll note I don't know if everybody has, yeah, I did. You'll note that as the blood returns to the heart, see how these particular veins are blue. That bluing action, you can actually see it in your hand. Some of you have, see the veins that are in your arms and your hands. Some of them are red, some of them are blue. Does anybody know why some of them would be blue and some would be red? Got an answer?
The ones that are red have oxygen in them.
You guys are smart. So you guys have a good history of this stuff. So the ones that are red are oxygen rich. The heart pumps, and it pumps through a process where it takes the oxygen from the lungs. Again, all the systems work together. So as you breathe, you take in oxygen, and your heart grabs that blood, puts it through a system where it can take the oxygen from these little alveoli, or alveolus would be the singular, and then it distributes it through the body for the brain, for the other organs. Yeah, how's the videotape going? Is it okay?
It just paused. Mine just paused.
You can keep it going or hit it again. No, it's still going.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oops.
So, as it regenerates itself, what happens is the aorta will bring the blood, oxygen-rich blood, and it travels throughout the system. The system or the tissues use it, and then it returns through the veins of the system as deplenished oxygen it goes back to the heart, and then it gets replenished again. So we have a system here. Would you consider this a open system or a closed system? Does anybody have an idea? Just guess. Guess again. You got 50. Yeah, it's a closed system, meaning that it's all inside of you. If it goes out, you'll happen to, like I was saying, you get a cut or a scrape and you begin to bleed. Most people will put pressure on that cut to stop the bleeding. That, again, helps promote the clotting action of the blood system. And as we look through our system, you're going to note that there's many, many lines or many, I'm going to say miles, we'll talk about miles, of capillaries. And capillaries are the really small hair-like tubes that carry the blood to the different tissues. And as they carry the blood to the different tissues, there are about, let me ask you, since we're talking miles, how many miles of veins, arteries, and capillaries do you think we have in our system? Give me a guess.
2.
2 miles?
3.
3 miles?
5.
60,000 miles. So 60,000 miles. If you took your arteries, veins, and capillaries from end to end, it would be 60,000 miles of arteries and capillaries in your body. That's pretty amazing, huh? I mean, to think about. And that's why you can see when you get even the most small, minute cuts that the blood is actually flowing through that system, and it now becomes an open system when you do get a cut and you need to close it back up. One of the things that I want you guys to be aware of in this particular lesson is the way the blood flows. So the first thing that I want to talk about are arteries and veins. And now the arteries, I have stupid songs. I don't know if you ever do songs to try to memorize things. So I have a stupid song for arteries. Arteries, the blood actually goes away from me, and it's oxygenated with oxygen. So all that, see, it sounds stupid, but arteries go away from me with oxygen. So the arteries, they take the blood away from the heart, fully oxygenated, so it's red. It's bright red or scarlet. Some people call it scarlet. And it gives you the blood all the way through the tissues. So that when we breathe, that blood is oxygen-rich. That's where we get the oxygen from, through our lungs and through these little areolas. Does anybody tell me how many times a day we breathe? We breathe in and out, about average? Go ahead. You've been guessing everything out. Albert, go ahead.
3,000.
3,000 times?
3 million?
That's he knows to go high. How many times we breathe a day? That's pretty close. 22,000 times a day we breathe in. That's a lot. And as we breathe in 22,000 times a day, I'll even ask another question. In your lifetime, how many times do you think your heart beats?
Like 2 billion?
2 billion? Okay, you're on the right billions. 3 billion? Give me another one.
5 billion.
Higher.
10 billion.
Close. 6.5 billion times in a lifetime. If you were to live to the age of 70, your heart would beat 6.5 billion times. That gives you, that's sort of a finite number. It's kind of a scary thing to think your heart only beats 6.5 billion times. So take advantage of every single beat. Yeah, that's the key. So as the heart and the lungs work together to bring the oxygen to it, we have this part of our system here that's called the aorta. The aorta is on your vocabulary. I want you to know that the blood goes away. The artery goes away from me with oxygen. Oh gosh, she only knew all my little idiosyncrasies. Okay, now veins. The way I remember veins is, remember, when we talk about veins, the oxygen is deplenished. It's been used. So the veins, I kind of say, hey, veins, blood come with me. So I remember veins with hey veins. You're calling the blood back to the heart to get it reoxygenated. So the two things I want you to remember from this, the arteries, or the aorta. The aorta is the main valve that takes the blood and distributes it out through the body, and it's oxygen rich. The veins, what do the veins do with the blood? You know. They bring it back. Hey veins. Hey, come over here. So, hey. So that's how I remember it. So two things I want you to remember again. Arteries, what do? They carry the blood away from the heart with oxygen. The veins carry it back to the heart with deplenished oxygen. Okay, thumbs up if you have an understanding on that. All right, everybody thumbs up on that. Okay, that's part of the program that we have to have. One of the things to make sure everybody has full understanding of the two main points that I'm trying to iterate. And Aubrey, which way does the blood go in the arteries? Away from me, artery with oxygen. Okay. Okay, and let's see. Which way does the blood go in the veins? To the heart. Very good. To get reoxygenated. Very good. Okay, so we're all clear on that so far. Now, as you have the blood in your system, you have two types of blood cells. You have white blood cells, which you really won't be concerned with, but as I spoke with Albert, the white blood cells, they carry the immunities. They carry the disease prevention. And the second type of blood cell that we have are the red blood cells. And the red blood cells are the ones that carry the oxygen to the tissues through the blood system, and then they actually turn bluish when the oxygen is depleted to coming back to the heart. Does anyone know where the red blood cells are made in the body? Anybody have a clue?
Bones.
Bones, yeah. What part of the bones?
Like inside.
Inside. Does anybody know what that's called inside? Marrow, bone marrow. Well, you guys are good. You guys got some history on this. So bone marrow, inside. Have you ever had a steak? I'm not a big fan of steaks or bones or anything like that, but if you ever had like a T-bone or a round steak and the bone had that centered part, you couldn't tell if it was hard or soft, it was kind of squishy, that's the marrow. And inside your body, that's where the red and white blood cells are produced, but mostly we're going to talk about the red blood cells today. So the red blood cells, what do they do? Anybody remember what the red blood cells do? They carry what? Oxygen. Yeah, very good. You guys are great. Okay. So they carry oxygen throughout our system, and again, it's a closed system. The arteries take the blood and distribute it away from the heart with plenty of oxygen, where the veins bring it back. I think I've said that a few times now. You guys have gotten used to that. Okay, so as I go through it, again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. But let's go through the first part of this worksheet and see if we can answer some of the questions. The first one is, blood has blank important parts. How many parts of the blood? Yeah. 4. Red, white, veins, and capillaries. Wow, that sounds gross. But it isn't. And the 4 parts of the blood, we have another part which is called plasma. I'm going to go through that real quick. Plasma is about 95% water. The rest of it is made up of the minerals that help keep the balance of a red blood cell in check. And then, let's see, where are we with that? So it's important. Blank is the liquid that makes up most of our blood. That's the plasma. So I'm just going to give you that answer since I kind of already did. The blanks takes away. What is that? Let's see. Oh, arteries versus veins. What takes the blood away from the heart with full of oxygen? Arteries or veins? Arteries. What brings it back with the oxygen depleted? Veins. Awesome. There's some of your answers in there. Okay. The system gets its name because our blood, blank, moves around the body. What does it do around the body? Circulates. Those are all kind of given answers to that. I'm not sure if that is something that I spoke of. But anyways, these are the blank blood and blood vessels. What are they? Capillaries, which are remember we have 60,000 miles of capillaries through our system. Okay, that's good. I'm not going to worry too much more about that worksheet. If you want to do more on the worksheet, great. Not too worried about it. So, trying to think of what else I have to do here to go through our system. Some of this stuff that I tape is not going to make sense to you because I'm trying to hit the points that I'm doing in my class. So if I go over it real quick, I apologize. But again, this is more for me and the assignment than to keep everything going. Oh, here we go. Platelets. Platelets, there are a few platelets in the blood, the white blood cells. Platelets are still very important. Platelets thicken and harden the blood. That's when we were talking about clotting. So the platelets are basically there in the blood to help it clot, and that's really all I'm going to say about that. As I finish up this system, one of the things that we have is I've given to some of the what I call the group leaders. Part of this class we have to do collaboration. Has anybody ever heard of that word collaboration? We have to get in groups. You've heard of it? Collaboration. Okay, so we're going to collaborate. Pretend that I had 6 groups of 6 because there's 36 of you, and we're going to do what we would call an assignment that is a collaborative assignment. And the collaborative assignment is it's called Chatterpix. And the Chatterpix is where you actually take a picture of something like this that may or may not have a face, and we will put a mouth to it, and then we'll record our voice. And as we record our voice, apply it to the Chatterpix. It's kind of cool. You can put it up on your screen or whatever, and then it's the voice starts talking. It tells you exactly what you just said in there, and it makes it kind of really cool. So that would be our assignment, even though we're not going to do that. But I do want you to be aware that that was part of our program, and in doing so, can I leave? Let me see if I did this. Oh, good. Okay, everybody turn to the back page. This is our Chatterpix assignment. I'm kind of going to go ahead of myself on it. These would be some of the questions that you would ask in the Chatterpix to help you determine whether or not you understand or you have the knowledge. And again, I went over it so fast. I don't expect you to have all the answers to these, but we're just going to kind of touch on the questions. So, as I assign some of the parts to your particular groups, let's say, for example, that I assign to Kelly, I assign arteries and veins. Okay, so you go back and you look at your Chatterpix assignment and you would ask, what function does your part play in the circulatory system? So what part does the artery serve in the circulatory system? Yeah, artery. See why I do those stupid songs that help you relate to it? So the artery carries the blood away with oxygen. So very good. And what about the veins? You know that. Yeah, it's the opposite. Okay, so that's what you would do in your Chatterpix. Let's see. How does your part relate to other parts? So how does we'll give somebody, how do the arteries and the veins relate to the other parts of the body? Yeah, you.
They relate to part of the body because...
How do they get the oxygen?
You breathe.
When you breathe. So that's the connection. They're pulmonary receptors. So the pulmonary, meaning lungs, they receive the oxygen into the red blood cells, and they carry it like on their back. They literally carry the oxygen as little pockets, and they bring it around to the other tissues. So that's how we would use the Chatterpix assignment, and you could go through these questions and see, what does your part look like? What does your part look like? Well, it looks like a tube with a bunch of blood running through it. So those are the things that you would do. And then in the Chatterpix, your assignment would be to somehow come up with a speech of whatever that system is or whatever your question is, and then you're going to put it on a little Chatterpix guy, and he's going to talk, and then you guys can watch it. And one of the neat things about Chatterpix is, do you guys know what a QR code is? You ever seen a QR code? The QR code, you make the QR code, and like we had, I believe it was either it was 2 Sundays ago, when the parents came in and got to see your projects. One of the things you would have is, if you had your laptop out there, you could push the QR code and your Chatterpix would come up and the parents could be involved with it. And so part of the program that I'm in, we are talking about family, parents, community, and school. So how do you get those connected? And Chatterpix is a great way to get your parents connected into what you're doing as far as your homework. And that's just what you guys want, more parent involvement. Huh? Love having your parents involved in your business. So that's my Chatterpix project, and that's basically the end of the system. And when I want to go over the last part, it's just kind of some neat statistics. These are just kind of random things that are related to it. And again, this is certainly not a full detailed lesson, but can anybody tell me, are the lungs the same size? No. Why? Anybody know why the lungs aren't the same size? Yeah, so it's smaller. Everybody has a left and a right lung. The left lung is always smaller than the right because the heart fits in there as well into that big compartment. And I thought that was pretty cool. And as you breathe in and breathe out, you have lung tissue. And the surface of the lung tissue, if you laid it out flat, it would be the size of a tennis court. Isn't that crazy? You have 60,000 miles of red and blue blood vessels and capillaries through your heart or through your system, and then you also have this lung tissue that takes up the oxygen. It takes up so much oxygen that it would fill up the size of a tennis court with all of that level of oxygen. Yeah.
If you're taller or shorter, is it longer or shorter?
Yeah, you would have, if you were taller, you'd probably have 61,000 miles. Networks if you were shorter. But again, it's probably about an average. 60,000 miles, give or take 2,000 miles. That's a lot of miles. What else do I want to say about the lungs? I had something else I was just thinking about and I forgot. Let's see. Oh, how big is the heart? How big is your heart? Go ahead, Ross. Yeah, when you're a baby, and when you're an adult, it's about 2 fists. So it's pretty good size. And as I go through that again, I'm always going to ask, where does the blood go with the arteries? Away with oxygen. Good. See, away with oxygen. Good. Love it. And in the veins, what does it do? Comes back with, and what color is the blood in the veins? Yeah, so what happens, one of the things that, I just got to go over these facts. Notice that where the location of the big arteries are. Notice how they're behind the spine. Both the artery and the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, they're behind the spine. Why are they in the center of the body? Why not out on an edge or something? Can anybody give me an answer on that one? Yeah, they're protected. So if, in fact, we have these blue veins running through our body, let's say we got stabbed in a vein, what would happen to the blood when it comes out? We never really see blue blood, so what happens? What does that mean? Go ahead. Anyone? Yeah, the oxygen hits it. So whenever your closed system gets opened, it's always going to be red because the blood in itself, the oxygen comes in. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Okay, so we breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. What system in nature is the opposite? Trees, grass. What do? What is their respiration? Carbon dioxide and release. So how important is our environment? That's the other side. Yeah, she loves me when I talk about the environment. I'm a big environmentalist, and part of the program is we have to introduce the environment into our curriculum, whether it be a thematic unit or whether it be a specific unit. We always have to talk about the environment. The environment is so important that without it, we wouldn't be able to breathe. So make sure that you take your environmental lesson for the day on that one. So that basically, in review, I want to make sure that you have the 2 things that was important about the lesson. And the first is the artery. Which way does the blood go out of the artery?
Out.
Out with what?
Out with the arteries.
Out with the arteries, and what is it carrying?
Oxygen.
And where does it get the oxygen?
Outside. When you breathe in.
Breathe in, it comes in through the lungs. Yep. Goes all the way down to these alveoli. The alveoli are the little, I guess they're air bubble sockets that take in the oxygen, and then the red blood cells, as they come through, they grab it and take it through the entire system. So that's one of the things that, these things are really small. They're about 6 to 8 microns. I don't know if you know what a micron is, but it's about 600 thousandths smaller than a millimeter. So there's a lot of them. But when you smoke, or when you take drugs, smoke pot or smoke cigarettes and everything, you're clogging those up. So those are bad. Don't do that. You won't be able to breathe. Your oxygen won't be clear. Your skin won't be clear. There's a lot of other things that we need when we use our oxygen. So let's see. Let me see if I can finish this up real quick. Where does the blood take? Where are the veins? What happens to the blood in the veins?
Back to the heart.
With oxygen or without?
Without.
Perfect. Those are the 2 things I wanted you to make sure you knew on this lesson. And I'm finished. You guys did great for me. I love all the questions, and I think I hit it right on the mark with the time. How am I doing on time? Perfect. 10 o'clock. That's perfect. So the key was time management too. I only had a half hour to do this. So they said I had to do everything in a half hour. And I think I met it. So.
You get an A. That was interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I liked it.